Welcome to the Midwest Moguls Show, where we talk all things business, real estate, and entrepreneurship. Let's dive into today's episode and make business enjoyable again. So welcome back to the Midwest Mogul Show. We have Greg Dallaire Mike Wasilkoff here in the studio with us today. We're going to talk all things real estate investing, marketing, managing people. Mike's doing some interesting things across the country. Greg's doing some amazing things here in the Fox Valley, Wisconsin area. So I guess you guys, if you want to give me a little bit of intro on yourselves, we can take the conversation from there.
Yeah, so I'm Greg Dallaire. I've been in real estate since 2006. We launched an independent real estate brokerage in 2011. Started with myself and Mike back in 2011, and now we've got 14 agents, 3 full-time employees, working in Green Bay, Appleton, and Oshkosh. Leveraging technology is kind of our superpower, which I'm excited to kind of be here on the podcast and dive in. And Mike's been an instrumental part of building our company at Dallaire Realty and has a wealth of knowledge and experience that he's poured into not only myself, but our whole team. So really excited to dive into that with you guys as well today.
Yeah. And Mike, what about yourself? Like, what's the background?
What's the background?
Yeah. The story.
The story behind Greg and I getting together.
Yeah, and just pull the mic a little bit closer to you.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good.
No, Greg and I knew each other, I don't know, it's been 20 years, something like that.
Yeah.
We were hitting it off, and I was actually on the mortgage side of things.
Okay.
I was doing mortgages for about 9 years, and I saw what he was doing with technology. I'm like, holy cow, this kid was like flipping computers around and signing stuff on his computer. And I'm like, what? This is pretty cool, you know, in a world of paper. And obviously dating myself 20 years ago. And I was like, I want to see what's going on here. And we ended up collaborating. And, 15 years later, here we are.
Yeah, no shit. So it's what was the initial part? Because it sounds like, were you both kind of the founding members of Dallaire, or what resulted in like kind of growing the business together? Like how do you bring on that? Like Mike is I don't know if he's an employee partner, whatever the case is, however that's set up, but what was the catalyst to doing that from your side of things, Greg?
Well, it's kind of grown organically over time because it started with just me, and then we added on Mike, and then, through trials and, making some, hiring mistakes over time. We've learned a lot and continue to always improve and learn to not try to make the same mistake over and over again and develop that. But I was attracted to Mike back in the early days when he was in the mortgage industry. He was doing lunch and learns. He was trying to really do things that nobody else was doing, like getting out of his comfort zone. But he was consistently doing it. And the magic of what we'll dive in today is a lot about consistency and discipline. And Mike is in my world, when I look up discipline, it's Mike. Like I was talking with one of our new agents, Leo Garcia, and we were talking about in his business plan about, he had a self-discipline reflection. Yeah. And I was like, Mike is the epitome of discipline. We were talking about gratitude and how important that is in our world. And, Mike had a 700-day plus streak on gratitude, like journaling.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And,
holy crap.
And I was relating that to Leo about this. If you look at what Mike's been able to do, not only on the retail side of the business, but he's been able to do it on the investing, flipping, long-term holds, but it's like the gratitude of that. But I used all of the things that he's poured into us to reflect on Leo, like in his business plan saying, hey, talking about self-discipline. And I'm like, Mike's leading by example. So there's just an attraction at the early days. There's some funny stories about our early days at the Green Bay distillery and me missing some appointments that he likes to bring up from time to time. But
he stood me up twice.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. Not proud of that moment, but here we are today.
Just reflecting on it a little bit, just a little bit of a jab every now and again. That's funny. And from your guys' experience, obviously you've been in business together for a long time. Like in retrospect, compared to some people who start and then 2 years later, a year later, whatever, they part ways. What has been the I guess the metrics that you've grown, or like the responsibilities that each one of you has in the business? Like obviously there's a component that Mike might be better at versus Greg and vice versa, but like what has that been?
I think it's the yin and yang.
Yep.
We are two completely different people in a lot of regards. I call him the technology genius to every person I meet. I mean, this guy, I always say I want to lock him in a room just to solve problems with technology, because that's why we are where we're at, is because of this man's brain and how he's able to become beta tests in every single CRM and all different follow-up programs. And then I, being the older man in the room, was able to bring some leadership things that really complemented our business the whole way. I love to teach. I love to get in front of people. I love to hold their hands, to see them succeed.
Yeah.
That's really what is an accomplishment within myself, is to see other people succeed. So I think it was a natural fit, luckily, from the get-go. And I was able to, while he was working on some technology things, I was able to bring some agents and hold them along the way. Nick Carpio's been with us forever, and just foster those relationships. So he's able to run the technology factors of our meetings. He's able to be a big producer along with, me helping the other agents. And then that's the way I saw it work out. It was yin and yang.
Correct. And Greg, from your point of view, what is it similar? Like, do you have a similar outlook on that, or?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that Mike brings unique talent from all of his previous experiences in life, and he's so giving. And if there was ever a mistake that he made, he would always pour back into helping me not make that same mistake. Yeah. And like, we've got numerous, countless examples that. But as far as, he is the glue of our meetings. He's the glue of our business planning. He's the glue of our training. He's willing to do anything and everything for anyone on our team at any hours. I mean, he's a licensed broker in the state of Wisconsin. He is available for our team, and he genuinely cares. And like, that's like, you talk about the magic of the company. There's a lot of people in our company that it's not just me and Mike. It's like our new agents, we always reference back to like the early days when me and Mike were shooting videos with a flip camera, driving down the highway, talking about properties and putting them on Craigslist back in the early days, maybe pre having Boomtown and having some of these great CRMs and technologies, and just the evolution. But the beautiful thing about our culture of our company is that everyone wants everyone to succeed, and there's not a scarcity mindset in our culture. There's an abundance mindset. And there's just so much opportunity. And those are kind of the people that we want to come into our organization. We're not perfect. We're always trying to learn and improve. And that comes from, Mike's leadership. And, I remember, back in the early days, I had, my grandfather was a lieutenant colonel in the Army. And I kind of grew up with, grew up with that, wanting to bark sometimes and, be a basement leader. And I just remember Mike sitting me down and having the love to say, Greg, hey, there's a better way to lead. And I still have to check myself in the mirror a lot on that.
Of course.
But, really praising before we go into like a correction mode.
Correct.
And then repraising has really helped. But he's extremely involved in all of the business planning, the meetings. He's involved in every single decision. We're looking at potentially new technology. He's the beauty behind keeping my old squirrel brain of like, we have all these incredible ideas, but oh shit, we gotta
exactly. Let's focus on one thing, Greg.
I think we switched CRMs like 3 times in a month, and I was just like sitting there. I can't do this.
Greg's like this is the next best thing. Let's just implement this.
We gotta slow down here, buddy.
And so, like, obviously throughout the process of building out the team and everything like that, like what I admire is the fact that there are people who have been with you guys for such a long amount of time. What do you think has stemmed, like the success that you've had with that, with retention, with keeping people on the team, the culture that you've built? From my mind, it's always like a top-down approach. Like they're admiring what you guys have done and then they enjoy the culture. But what have you done to build that over the years? And obviously in the beginning, it might not have been as great as what it is currently right now, but are there any tips or tricks on that side of things?
I think it's who we bring into the organization. We do a multi-step process as far as that goes, as far as bringing people in, and we do interview with 3 of the people from the company, whether they're agents or staff. And we learned that long ago. And I'm protecting that culture because a bad hire can screw up the whole team. So we're always very, very careful. If somebody doesn't work out, we try to part ways quicker than later. And I think that's been a huge part of our success is you're sitting down in a meeting with 3 people from the team and you're talking to a potential hire, and you're getting the feel. Do they have it? You know, are they going to play nice with others? I think that's been huge as far as the culture of our team.
I think I think that's a huge part of it is that we trust our colleagues' decisions. If we go into a group interview and somebody says it's a no, it's a no. Like it's done right there. We've actually learned that a maybe is a definite no.
Exactly.
You know, and sometimes that, you know, it's hard for the people in the group interview to be honest about that, but we've learned that the more honest that people are, the quicker we can grow as a company. I think that we're also, you know, obviously we're excited about, you know, our new location in Oshkosh and hiring people. We've had, you know, 33 applicants and we've only had 2 phone interviews. You know, but to get to the point of like, why are people from a retention standpoint with us? I think it has a lot to do with the leverage. You know, we all get the same treatment. I kind of designed initially, like when we started adding more leverage pieces, like we have an inside sales agent, Chris, who's actually been with us for 10 years. And that's a role.
That's insane.
10 years. That's like typically a 1 to 2 year maximum. And, you know, we've got a listings manager that basically does every single part of everything that the agent really shouldn't be doing. You know, because our average production per agent has been 34 to 51 sales for the last 9 years.
Oh, shit.
And a lot of it is because of the leverage around and there's no special treatment for me. We designed it. We wanted everyone to get the same treatment. So it's not like I don't have a personal assistant who's doing all these things for me. We all have 3 assistants. We have our ISA, Chris, who's, like I said, 10 years. We have Tom, who's our listings manager, who is doing, you know, pretty much every single thing marketing wise that you could imagine for a listing on the agent's behalf. And then we have our closing coordinator, Bill, you know, and those guys have been with us for a long period of time as well. But it's always about trying to provide value. And I think that when I originally started this, it was like I knew if we could use the revenue to buy more opportunities or to build better systems that can help our agents close more business and net more money with less expenses, that was kind of for me, everything I didn't like about the traditional real estate brokerage world, where there just wasn't a lot of value, I tried to put value in all of those missing places. And there's just a lot of things that are done on the agent's behalf that we know they should do, but they're not going to do.
Correct.
Even myself, like the most beautiful thing about like Mike and like what he's poured into this company is that we will not, whenever we look at like a new technology now, unless we know it can be consistently done over and over and over again, we will not move forward with it. Like the consistency piece is the magic. And it's not necessarily sexy and people are like, don't want to hear it. But the success of this company is also a snowball of the consistency for the last, 13, 14 years. And it just it keeps growing and growing.
Which is, I don't know, it's incredible to see that because statistically, like most agents are in and out of the business within probably 1 to 5 years at the very, very most. And then, exactly. And it's like the turnover rate is so high because they're worried about all these different segments. And it sounds like, at least from what you've been saying so far, like Dallaire pushes like the focus of, okay, agents going to be responsible for agent activities. We can handle the transaction management and all the other miscellaneous shit that comes with the listing process or buyers or whatever the case is. Is that kind of a correct statement?
Yeah, that's dead nuts on. Yeah, I kind of look at us like Notre Dame. You know, we don't wear names on our signs or anything. It's all Dallaire Realty. And that you have to have that mentality. And sometimes that's hard for agents to buy into because it's all me. I want to be on the screen. I want my picture on the sign. And
the egos.
Sort of thing. It is.
It's the egos.
And really, you have to check your ego at the door, just like in jiu-jitsu. I love jiu-jitsu. And you have to check your ego at the door to let this system work. And Greg's made this incredible company that's so successful because of that. I mean, to have, you know, these numbers of 35 to 51 deals per agent.
Yeah, that's nuts.
That's average per agent. So that means some of them are doing, you know, 100+ deals a year.
Crazy.
It's crazy, but it's because of the leverage that's provided there. Is it perfect at all times? No. Sometimes
of course
things break. I'm not saying everything's perfect, but like he said, accountability. If I mess up, he comes talks to me. If he messes up, I come talk to him. That's what you have to have in a very good organization is openness about that, and accountability is love for the organization.
And so, like, obviously you guys are both fairly young. And it's I didn't ask ages, but like to gain this much insight and to obviously, like, say 15 years ago or 13 years ago or whatever, when the business was started, we can kind of transition later into investments and all that in technology and everything. But the insight that you've gained, what has that stemmed from? Has it stemmed from like previous jobs and that sort of thing? Has it stemmed from schooling, or like to gain that much knowledge? And that's the thing that I'm seeking. That's why I'm asking these questions selfishly. Because I'm like, well, how, like, to grow that much in a business and to sustain for that long is, like I said before, it's impressive. And like, where did those skills come from? Or has it just been trial and error?
This guy's a master of talking to everybody in the country and learning from the best of the best. I've had to pay to be in some of those rooms to learn from the best of the best. But in any regards, we never stop learning. I think that has a lot to do with it. Is like, you know, it's on a training session last night for an hour, just blowing my mind to push that. And I think our team, you know, is fortunate to have a leader in Greg to push the envelope on technology all the time. And he's in masterminds. I'm in masterminds. You have to make yourself be 1% better every day. And if you get that mindset around you and you get a team like that, I'm not kidding. It's brought tears to my eyes multiple times when you see everything, all cylinders firing.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And you see an agent, you know, after their second year doing 60 deals. I mean,
it's
that's
like just nuts
over and over on our team. So it's pretty cool.
It is. Greg, do you have anything to add? Because I'm like,
well, I always say this, you know, when I get privileged to speak, I like to kind of share that, you know, I always tell myself the minute I, you know, stop learning is the minute I get my ass kicked. And I don't want anyone to kick my ass. You know, I was, you know, from a very early age when I was in school, I wasn't attracted to just your general studies. I was, you know, reading books when I was like 15 or 16, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you know, Think and Grow Rich. And, you know, me and Mike are constantly working on self-improvement. We're constantly trying to get better on having conversations. We're both practice what we preach leaders. A lot of leaders will bark from the top, but they won't make the calls and actually like get into the sand with the team. And, but that's the magic between me and Mike, and the gift that we have is we can't stop. Like, we want to continually improve. Sometimes it's
could be a curse.
That's depends on who you ask.
And we go in streaks, obviously, where we'll take more time for, you know, our mental health and like learn about that stuff, because, you know, there's times where we run it too hard and it's not healthy. And we're pretty open about that. But I love it. Like I've been very fortunate to reach a lot of the goals that Mike has helped me set out, and the importance of goal setting and business planning and other things. But I always say that my big why right now is to make sure that our team has the best fight in the game, the real estate game. Because obviously we already know that it's been changing for the last 15 years. And yes, it may seem like it's on rapid fire changing, but the core competencies in the lack of consistency in those areas is still what moves the needles. Now there's little tweaks that we can use. You know, obviously we'll probably get into talking about AI and all that fun stuff. But I think the future of the game is really leveraging AI and other things to become even more present with your clients, so you can actually have better conversations and not be focused on, the next 5 things. It's really now that we can actually really focus on our calls, and not only that, but like be coached on our calls. And I'm open to that, because like there's times where me and our Chris, our ISA, who's been with us forever, we call him Tandan. He's he'll listen to some calls, and I'm totally open. Or oh man, I botched that call.
Yeah.
Wow, that intro. Like there were so many opportunities to do better on that call, and that's a comfortable thing for us. We need to even get more comfortable on it. Like we need to continue to improve on that. Like we talk about it in the meetings all the time. Like your ability to be great on the phone, but also in person, and be present, which both of our minds run at, all 3 of our minds run at hyperspeed. So
correct.
Being able to focus, like one of our really good friends, Brandon Brittingham, talks about focus being a superpower, and, puts on this incredible speech, and just the lack of ability for people to put down their phones. I'm on do not disturb right now. I don't want a single interruption, but I feel like there's a major shift in the last 10 years of people not being able to have attention spans. I've noticed it even with our reading. Like I like to read books, but I'm getting pulled into doom scrolling or,
terrible.
These things. But me and Mike never want to stop learning, never stop improving. I think we realize it's never going to stop.
Yeah.
It's in our innate being. I'm so grateful that God has blessed us in that way. Like to just, we enjoy learning and getting better.
Exactly. And do you, now with that, with everything that you just mentioned, obviously the team is aware of kind of the goals and expectations, but for everyone listening or watching right now, like what does that look like over the next 5 to 10 years of, hey, you guys, this is the plan, God willing, that we can go down this path and achieve these things? Like, is there a certain threshold that you're shooting for? Are you just shooting for the stars? Or like, what is the next step for Dallaire, or even like personally, like investment wise or whatever? It's kind of an open-ended question on that side of things.
Yeah, Mike challenged me about, I think 2.5, 3 years ago to write a letter, 10-year letter.
Yeah.
To what the future holds for that. I would say in the short term, we've had some starts and stops. We've got our new office in Oshkosh. So I would say, for the next 3 to 5 years, is building basically 2 more SEAL teams, one in Appleton and one in Oshkosh. And, being slow and organic with that, not rushing it, but being consistent at the processes that we need to take to find the talent that want the leverage around them to be able to do more and have a better life. We make it seem like we work all the time, but with the power of all these other people around us, with the leverage, you can either do a ton of volume and have a really good life, or you can maybe do just a little bit less volume and have this. I'm proud of, some of the people on our team have been going through some real, trials and tribulations this year, and the support and the way we've designed the company where, one of our agents, her son or her husband has stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and we were able to, step in as her, and also have the technology in place where if she wanted to check in on her stuff, she would see it.
Yeah.
And she could see exactly what was happening.
That's so cool.
On every single call, every single text message, summaries of everything.
Yeah.
But definitely super proud of, that ability to truly support people. And, not everyone has goals like me and Mike, but we are looking for people that definitely want to continually improve and have a great life, but also serve clients and enhance the customer experience so that we can organically continue to grow.
And is it the pursuit of growth that makes you stem out into, like, obviously that's kind of obvious, but into the different cities and municipalities, or like as you're growing, like my mindset and all is I didn't necessarily enjoy the traditional real estate side of things. So that's where I'm like, okay, I don't really like working with buyers. Can't stand it. Don't mind working with sellers, like most of them, if they're grateful and they're your ideal client. But then I transitioned the focus to the investment side. I'm like, well, we can grow the investment business. It's exponential. We can go into different markets. We can acquire rental units. There's a lot more leverage on our time. So from that side of things, I guess what I'm trying to get at is there a reason to grow the brokerage more? And that might be your leverage point of like, hey, I can assemble 20 more agents or 30 more agents or 50 more agents or whatever versus doing something on the investment side, or what has that been? And I know, Mike, you have a little bit different outlook on it, but like I would like to hear both of your points there.
For me, I think it's about being able to, if we have another SEAL team in Appleton and Oshkosh, I think that will create some opportunities for some people that have been on our team for a long time.
Yeah.
From an additional income stream opportunity, just helping fill the goals of other people on our team, because there is a lot of, seeing our new agents, not only getting time with both me and Mike and Chris and Tandan, but all of the agents.
Yeah.
Every single agent on our team will help. We've kind of fostered this, the culture of that.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to give bigger opportunities to people that want to maybe grow a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's a big reason for the organic growth. And we've been talking about this for a while. We've had starts and stops. It hasn't been roses and unicorns. I can be my own biggest enemy sometimes, where I'm very, very cautious of risk. I'm an incredible Texas Hold'em player, and I can gamble, but there's sometimes where I struggle taking big risks. He's pushed me over the envelope. We're building spec houses.
Yeah.
We're doing some other.
Yeah,
we're doing
proud of him.
Dang.
Yeah. So
that's a huge, like that in and of itself.
So if you read, Dave Ramsey, right?
Yeah.
And then Kiyosaki is on the other end,
of course.
And we're always battling those two and figuring out what's right for you.
Yeah.
He can sleep better at night knowing that everything's taken care of. Sometimes I'm a little bit more able to take risk on that most people wouldn't. But I think that's what brings us all together is we have this team, and each one of them has their own goals. And I go through them every year with them, and we sit down and we're saying, where are you going to be? And, I have to hold myself back because sometimes I know that you could do more. But that doesn't mean you want to.
Correct.
Just like your kids. That'd be hard. If you have kids, like you want them to be in wrestling, and they don't want to wrestle. They're not going to wrestle. So that's what's unique is where is this going to be in 10 years? It's wherever we want it to be, and whatever we can visualize is pretty cool. So,
past track record of success obviously breeds the confidence in order to execute those decisions, and it just allows you to grow as a person, as a business, as everything. And I think that's pretty admirable on that side of things. And now, like, from what got you guys into the spec builds? Like, is that like your area of expertise, or like what? Yeah, I guess explain that a little bit, because it's something that I've thought about, but then I'm like, the actual execution on it is.
Yeah, so that's a great question. There was a great builder in our local area called CRI Development. Chad and Josh are just an incredible operation. Ended up selling some of their homes to multiple clients.
Okay.
And I really got to see the happiness after the sale. Not just right away, but 30, 60, 6 months, a year down the road, that they're still ecstatic about their product. And I ended up, continuing to sell their properties. And then I ended up building a home with them, a personal home in Swamico. And there was just an opportunity, for us we already trusted the process. We even had a mistake on our build, but the way they handled it gave me even more trust in their abilities. And they do have kind of like investor opportunities where they look for investors, because they don't want to deal with bridezillas who want to choose every single thing in a home. They obviously want to pick and choose who they work with, because some people are very demanding. And for us, it just created an opportunity. I already believed in the product. Just had to find some land. My wife, meets with the designers, spends a couple hours picking everything. So it's nice to be able to give her, ownership on that. Creates inventory for us. The first one we did in De Pere. We did 2 open houses. It was on the market for like 13 days, and I was using it as a training opportunity for Leo. He was shadowing me in open houses. Like, I'm pretty good in open houses, and I like that setting. And we were able to procure multiple transactions out of that. We ended up selling that spec house had a co-broke agent involved, but we were able to get 2 listings for Ben on our team, and then a buyer.
Damn.
So a listing and a sale because of the spec house. So I mean, for us, I think it's a no-brainer to do it smart. Obviously, we don't want to have. Well, this is the risk versus Greg talking about having too much risk out there. So like I do, we have one that's done in February, and we're breaking ground in March.
Okay.
So like, and it's
calculated.
Tough.
It's very calculated.
Yeah, it's tough to get too many of them going, just because they do about 45 to 50 homes a year, and they're pretty full.
Yeah.
Like if you wanted to build with them right now, it would be pretty tough because they've got their book of business. But here's the thing: if you want to get in the spec building, what I've learned, because I've asked the questions, like you're kind of prodding, you have to do volume to be able to hit the pricing.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, so I think initially you probably have to give up some stuff in the beginning, but to get to the volume point, and then you really have to be able to leverage and know that you're getting the best pricing possible. Because I just ran into a customer who is a general contractor, and he was going to help his son build a home, and they bid it out, and they couldn't touch another spec builder's pricing Ticor in our area. They couldn't do it. But it's volume. It's volume pricing. Obviously there's still risk associated with it, but for us, like, what's the worst thing that happens? We're gonna continue to market the living snot out of that property, have open houses, every single Thursday, Saturday, and we do well in open houses. Like that's we have a good process for it, but it can be a good closing thing for people that want to work with buyers.
That's it. And for like spec builds versus flips, and Mike, you might have more experience on this side. Are margins comparable on that side, or and I'm not? You don't need exact numbers. Rough ballparks is fine.
This is a good story. This is a really good story because I talked to him about that. I was pretty open with him and shared that. And I mean, you can talk about what kind of propelled you in.
Yeah, I mean, I saw what he was doing, and I'm like, holy shit, from flipping, like the project management can suck up a lot of your time.
Oh, it's crazy amount.
It's nuts. I started flipping like 9 years ago, and there's just a lot of involvement in it. And if you can have a little bit more leverage of your time, which we're all looking for, right? And partner with somebody in this facet, it's amazing. Yeah. So I was like, heck yeah, sign me up for that. And then I jump in 2 at once, right? Because
he does.
You can't just do one.
You have Dave Ramsey in the corner over here.
You got Robert Skirasaki over here. I told you, yin and yang, but it works out. We meet in the middle, and everybody on our team benefits from that because they're all like watching it, like, holy smokes.
Well, and I think it gives them something to shoot for. It's like, okay, well, our leaders are doing this.
Yep.
And we can pursue the same thing, and there's opportunities too.
If I told you the number of people on our team that are running other businesses related to real estate, it's crazy. We have Ben and Andy running this huge property management company, and it just goes on and on.
And still producing 45 plus units a year. But they were, in the 60 to 70 range, but they were focusing on building this business, but still were able to keep their production. Yep. I think I saw there's like 1.5 million realtors, but 87,000 of them are 6 million in volume over. Only 87,000 of the 1.5 are over 6 million in volume. Yep. And you pull up our CSU dashboards, and like every single person on our team, except like maybe a brand new person who's been with us 6 months. We had somebody with 8 months at 4.5, and it's like, wow. So 87,000 people are actually selling all the real estate in the country.
Yeah. And that's the people always are afraid of competition. And that's what it's like, oh, well, the market's too saturated or whatever the case is. And like, what are and it seems like you have the mindset of, both of you have the mindset of, okay, there's plenty of opportunity out there. We just need to be better in some way, shape, or form. Is that kind of the outlook on things, or what keeps you driving on that side? Although some people might see it as like, hey, Mike and Greg are doing this. There's no room for me in this market. Like, what keeps you pursuing that?
What keeps us pursuing being better?
Well, it's not I guess. Yeah, that was a bit bad way I phrased the question. I would say, why do you guys share so much when it comes to No, that's probably
The
not even.
knowledge?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like because you're sharing a bunch of knowledge.
I believe if you teach something,
you're gonna reciprocity.
It's reciprocity. But I was a real estate coach for 7.5 years, and I got to be a better agent because once again, I've got more people that are accountable to me.
Yeah.
And I was racing to beat teams with my own production, and I was.
Yeah.
So that it all helped each.
Yeah.
It helps when you teach something. Going back to martial arts, you went to jujitsu. If they throw you in front of 50 people to teach a move, you gotta know that move or that position. And that's what I think has been very beneficial within this culture that we've built is like, holy smokes, Greg sells all these homes and he supports all the staff and he's on all these technology boards, and he can do it. Well, I can do it too.
Yeah.
He took me to a conference, Boomtown conference, and I saw Kyle Whistle speak in a breakout, and he's like, we as real estate agents, because I'm still in the field, I'm still selling houses last night till 9:00. He said we have the front row seat to see things that other people don't see. And I got home and I bought a flip very quickly after that because I was like, holy smokes, I know exactly what people like, what they don't like, and I can make a product like that. And I did. And it was uber successful on the first one, and then I was hooked.
And then you get addicted to actually improving neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Obviously because our name was attached to the sign.
Yep.
And there's a level of accountability because there's a lot of flippers that, put lipstick on a pig and try to just make these home run things. But I do want to speak on the opportunities out there for people that are not in the industry, that there is so much abundance in this industry. There's this crazy thing that I've realized and been around a lot of really great people from across the country. The people who are doing a ton of production now are not necessarily going to be doing a ton of production in the future. Either they're, maybe getting closer to retirement, or their just drive goes away. I've seen some people completely change, but if you've got a big heart and you're willing to be coachable and your ability to communicate with people is strong, I can tell you that there's a massive opportunity in the real estate industry if you get partnered with true training, true mentorship, true accountability, and you have to want those things. And if you don't, that's great because we want people that want to be held accountable, that are coachable. But we actually prefer people that are not inside the industry because you can't reprogram typically the bad habits. Yeah. Now, we have some great people on our team that have been at other brokerages, but I would say some of our people that have been with us the longest started with us with no career in real estate. And if you're willing to be this is sad in 2025, if you're actually willing to be very quickly responsive to people and provide a high level of customer service, I was just telling
run circles around people.
Oh, yeah, we can run. I mean, you could run circles around people. I'm not just saying us, but anyone on our team.
Correct.
And anybody in this world.
If you can consistently
get
back to people quickly, provide a high level of service, maybe set some expectations, because that's one of the things we are not good at with our clients is like maybe we get ourselves into trouble when we're talking to somebody at 9:30 at night.
Yeah.
I hope that people remember that we did that for them. Yeah. And a lot of people are pretty grateful. Obviously, we have those clients. When you do the volume of deals we do get the customers who can be really challenging at times. Of course. But overall, I think there's a massive opportunity in the real estate sales industry. The game is changing. And if you come in right now, you learn the game from the way it is right now.
Are you guys scared of the disruption that could happen like in the industry, and such as like new technologies coming in? And like I know always the topic is, okay, what if agents become obsolete to a certain extent? And I don't know if that'll ever happen because there's professionals in every way, shape, or form. But are you nervous about that? Like obviously you're taking, like there's a customer service approach when it comes down to it. But what would be the argument against of like, okay, do we need an agent? Why can't we just go out and buy this house on our own, or whatever the case is? Like some objection handling.
I think that's a scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
Neither Greg nor I have that. Like he alluded to before, is like there's so much opportunity here. I think the big Zillow kind of demonstrated that doesn't work.
Correct.
So I think that proof's in the pudding. They spent billions of dollars trying to make that work, and they couldn't. I mean, because a real estate transaction is so complex
Mm-hmm.
in that you're dealing with parties on both sides.
Yep.
When you're dealing with people, I don't know. Hopefully, maybe someday AI will be smart enough to solve those problems, but we're really problem solvers when it comes down to it. Home inspections are back, so there's all that negotiation.
It's terrible.
We had a little 4-year hiatus from that, but those are back. So working through those, I don't know how a robot's going to work.
Yeah.
I'm not scared of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we get into other things too, right? Within real estate, I believe, spec homes, wholesaling, flipping, whatever. It all comes back to real estate. That's what I know and I love, and that's what gets me up every day.
Correct.
Yeah, one of the nice things about having an independent brokerage and not being tied to any franchise is that we can pivot. We can be adaptable. Now, we need to be careful about that and not break our consistency records. But if something changes in the industry, we need to adapt. We will, and we will do it quicker than anyone else.
Yeah. Amen.
We are on the front edge of everything. I don't jump to anything quickly anymore, but I'm always
even though you'd
observant.
Like to.
Oh yeah. I'm always observant. I'm always observant to what's going on. I always want to have my finger on the pulse of where things are where things are going, and that's probably one of my gifts. Like he had said, I was blessed to be able to get into a speaking group back in 2010 with some incredible real estate agents across the country, and that I realized that I do not like public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. I get
nervous,
sweat profusely. Like I'm more of a practitioner. I love to give back to the industry and help people, but like the keynote speaker like Brandon Brittingham getting you in tears, busting you up. I haven't mastered anything near that kind of level of skills. But what I did realize is that would open up the door to being able to it's easier for me to have conversations with other people. Plus I'm such a giver in all these communities. Like I will do, screen shares. I will demonstrate how we do it. And that's kind of when I do speak at these events, I'm always giving the proof, because a lot of people go on stage and they're just a lot of egomaniac puffing the chest. Like we don't celebrate every accepted offer. We don't celebrate every sale that we have. That seems to be like a trend. Like we don't talk about how many houses.
Internally.
We do it internally. Yes. From a celebration internally, but externally. And we sell a lot of houses, but you've never heard us talk about our level of production or our actual, we sold this many homes with this many millions of dollars. I really don't think that's what the consumers want. They want an advocate and somebody they can trust. But that's just me on my soapbox.
Yeah. Well, going off of that topic, people want to know what's in it for them in most cases, in every single scenario. So it's like if they might see the agent saying, okay, well, I sold another house. I did this much in production or whatever the case is, but it doesn't really help them. And that's what I found is it's always, and I think consumers are becoming more aware of this is, okay, this person seems like they have a large ego. And then you actually have a conversation with them. And then it's like, well, they're not really asking me what I want. They're telling what they've done or whatever the case is. And I think more and more people are not able to relate to that, because it's not helpful in whatever way, shape, or form. And do you think that some of the, obviously is the old practice of there's some experienced agents that I've worked with in the past that it's a miserable process. Like truthfully speaking, the ego is way over the top and they're not doing what's in the best interest of their client from the outside looking in, because they want to, whether it's get the upper hand on the negotiation, whatever the case is, and they're advocating for their buyer or seller. But do you think at some point that model of, and I guess it's human characteristics, but do you think the egotistical agent will eventually be pushed out and then it'll be more go-givers in the sense, I don't know if either of you have ever read that book or...
Yeah, Bob Berg, is that?
Yeah, yep.
Or
do you think
I think you're always going to have that.
That's what human nature.
I really do. I mean, you're going to have the people that are always going to jerks. What is it? 5% of the population is crazy. I mean, truly, they are. And we run across those clients once in a while. We all have. But I don't see that going away. We just have to be better advocates, as Greg says, of doing things right. We get offers accepted in our areas because people like working with us. They know our agents are solid. They know our process is solid. He's built out this automated system that's just incredible on the back end. So that people are touched and deadlines are met.
Yeah.
If they're not, then alarms go off and it's like, what's going on? And then you have to jump in and see how to fix it. But I think we're always going to have that, especially with influencing and, there's people doing videos like they're selling 1 million houses and you look them up and, they sold 1 this year. I sold way more than that.
Exactly.
So I think that's just nature of the beast.
I agree with you in that side of things. It's always interesting looking at it from like when you know the real production of someone, and then you're like, well, the perception's not reality in a lot of those scenarios.
How many views do you really have on that video?
Correct.
6.
Yeah.
3 of those are lenders, and the 2 are your mom and sister. You know what I mean? And what did you really do?
Yeah, one of the things I think I'm most proud of, and Mike kind of alluded to it with, our agents working with other agents from other companies. In our company, like we treat everyone, with as much kindness as we can. Yeah, maybe sometimes I'm over the top, but I have really good relationships. All of us have kept our noses extremely clean.
Yeah.
People want to work with Dallaire Realty agents because we know we're going to get them to the finish line.
Correct.
Like we're actually gotten to the point where like we'll even almost proactively do the listing agent side of the job just to make sure that we're constantly on, and for the most part, like we're super nice to people. There's a few that just make you grind your gears, but that's the moments I'm like, you know what, you still got to love them and try to be as nice as possible. Don't burn it. Thanks, Mike. You're right. I used to have that scarcity to want to choke somebody out. Like, I need to get in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu mat. But your relationships matter. Even like us golfing, like 6-7 years ago, like brought us to this point here. Right. Or when you were at the Keller Williams Mega Summit in Green Bay.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, and talking about your retargeting, that it's funny how the world works, but you never want to burn bridges. You want to keep, and it's helped our new agents. A brand new agent will get benefit of the doubt from our local real estate community, even though they haven't done anything, because they know that we are actually reviewing their contracts. We're actually helping them write their contracts. And until they get to the point where we know they're ready to go,
Correct.
Like we don't release them into the things. And our brand new agents will be able to shadow somebody listing a property on our team. So if they discover a listing opportunity, they can still, make a bonus on that. But we don't let brand new agents list a property for a year. The ones that don't have experience, like listing a property is a very, very big deal. And so is buying a home, but we are shadowing and mentoring those people throughout that's the thing. Like we haven't had this like crazy explosive growth. Like we have, if you look at it from the whole picture, but we pour so much into our individual people. That's also why we won't just let anyone into our culture. But it takes a lot to do what we do, and that's the difference. I remember when I started in my real estate career in 2006, we had a real estate trainer for like a week and a half, and it was like sink or swim. And that's still like a real process today, where they talk about all this great training, but they're missing accountability, they're missing business planning, they're missing like actual mentorship. Now, some of them try to do that, but that's what I feel like is a huge part of our magic.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Grassroots. It slowly came together. I mean, we wrote our goals down. I made him sit down in this conference room and write our goals down. 2011.
Yes,
we wrote them down, and I have that book in my desk drawer.
That's so cool.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
but it's just a culmination of that growing and getting better. And making mistakes. I mean, that's how we learn is challenge. I call them challenges now. I don't call them mistakes, but challenges that I've made so many
learning lessons is what I
had so many challenges that I've had to overcome personally and business and still do on a daily basis. But I think it's just growing together collaboratively, and then having either Greg or I available for phone calls from the agents. I get calls at 9:30, 10 at night from agents like, I'm stuck. And that's what you're getting with our team is somebody who's going to answer the phone or get back to you humanly possible to answer that question. Cause I know that's going to help one of our agents come up or one of our older agents. I mean, still run into challenges. I mean, that's the one thing about real estate is you learn something every stinking day. You're involved, have your hands dirty, whether it be flipping, property management, wholesaling, PPC,
everything,
Google, taking all of our money or whatever it is that day. You know what
It's
I
just
mean?
flushing it down the toilet.
Yeah. Lighting it on fire.
Yeah,
like,
no shit.
You have no idea how much I lit on fire last year.
Well, it's in kind of transitioning the conversation a little bit to the flipping and wholesaling side of things. So from your perspective, Mike, so you're doing deals in the Valley area, you're doing deals in Vegas area, what we were talking about before jumping on the podcast. Right. Like, what has been the catalyst to doing that? Like, obviously it's bolting on to what you're currently doing, but then what led you into Vegas other than, like, I think you mentioned your brother's there?
Yeah, my brother Josh
is
there. And I've always wanted to push knowledge into him.
Yeah. Younger brother or older?
Younger brother. He's 15 years younger than me.
Oh, dang. Yeah.
He actually became an MMA fighter. And let's back up a minute.
Yeah.
He was going to go to UWGB, and I hired him on in the mortgage industry to be a mentee.
Yep.
And it worked out really well. Well, he fell in love with MMA and ended up moving out to Vegas to become an MMA fighter.
Holy shit.
I wouldn't let you jab. If he throws a jab at you, you're dead. But yeah, so it was a natural progression. Once I saw my marketing working here in this area, I'm like, hey, I can plug you in. And we test piloted him with another marketing thing we did out there. So he's kind of a guinea pig in a big area where there's 5,000 people moving there a month, which is great. So that kind of catapulted me into saying, oh, I could do it in Vegas and we can partner up and we can do my marketing, have my call center working it, lock up the deals, and then he can run the projects. And it worked out wonderful.
Yeah.
So then I was like, oh, I was a real estate coach. I know all these people across the country that are really solid people.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take it into Boston. Let's take it into Michigan. Let's take it into, the sky's the limit.
Oh shit, you're doing deals or you've done deals in all those areas?
Yes.
Holy crap.
Yep. So, and we're working on Phoenix and Tucson also. The days on market are just really, really high there right now. So and I always thought like diversification, because if this market does go down a little bit, I've got the diversification of a bigger MSA that I can draw more things to. A little less problems, as we were talking about before, on no basements, which most houses I walk into are at least $12,000 to fix a basement, as you know.
Yeah.
And you don't have that. You don't have just the challenges, I'll say, you have in the Midwest, in those other markets.
So would you look at it from the perspective of you're the, in kind of the way I look at our businesses, like our main focus is the lead generation channels. That's where all the revenue comes from. So if we can perfect lead generation, then obviously the sales component to it, and then the project management's not necessarily on the wayside, but it's maybe not as important. Do you look at it from the same perspective on your side? It's like, hey, I'm going to perfect lead generation, then I'll have these other people take care of the projects, or okay.
Right. But, you still end up being the quarterback or the general manager and saying, okay. And that's what I did in my company, Trade My Home for Cash, is like, that's where I am in the general management position, because I'm selling 60 and 100 homes a year. So on the Dallaire side. And so I've got to have my focus there. But yeah, if you can get project managers that are able to communicate well, and I've taken everything that I've learned from Greg technology-wise, brought that into that business. So I'm able to pull up my Slack and see all the updated pictures of each project, where they're at. And then knowing and trusting people in those areas is key.
That's crazy.
But yeah, it's been a wonderful ride because of Greg's leadership as far as technology and using that. I don't even go to, I've never even seen most of these properties that I've bought and flipped and sold. Except on pictures.
Yeah. What keeps you still doing the traditional real estate business, especially if you're doing all this? Because I'm like, I look at that and I'm like, oh my God, like 60 to 100 houses a year is that's pretty insane volume when you consider all things. And then bolting on flipping and wholesaling or whatever across the country. I'm trying to wrap my head around that.
It's a love for real estate. It's being sharp, I took something from Jay Leno a long time ago. I was in Vegas for a conference or something, and they're like, "Hey, Jay Leno's here," and this is years ago, and I was like, "Okay." And so we went and watched him, and he did stand up, and it was like an hour, and it was just awesome. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy's on the Tonight Show every night, and he's probably making pretty decent money, and yet he's still working stand up.
Yeah.
And that's to sharpen your sword, so you know what's going on. You can see trends. You're in the trenches, and it may be right or it may be wrong, but I feel like really knowledgeable scene building. I was walking through a new build last night with a client, and I get to see all aspects of it. Plus, I have got 5 kids, 6 with my daughter-in-law. So like the cost of that is and what I pour into them. I have financial goals that I'm reaching to, that I need to keep selling on both ends. And, startups take a little bit of time to procure. It's not like you're making millions of dollars like you are
correct
out of the gates.
Yeah, exactly. It's the perception versus the reality of business. I think there's struggles to everything.
There's
and it's because that was like for me. And have you found, and on either of your guys' side, like we'll kind of wrap up with the marketing side of things. And I know we didn't get to a lot of the topics that I wanted to talk about, but
we'll do it again.
Exactly, because I'm like, my mind is just racing right now. Is it like online based? Is it I should say, is it inbound or is it outbound marketing? Like inbound, I'm thinking online leads, direct mail, billboards, TV, radio, that sort of thing. Outbound, I'm thinking texting, cold calling, all those open houses, whatever the case is. Like, what has been the root of the success, or is it a mixture of all things?
It's a combination of all of them. I mean, how many lead sources do we have? 36 or something.
I mean, the number is up there.
Yeah.
And we will gamble and try other things and try to, test things. Cause the grateful thing about our team is that we have records of everything. So like, we know if something works and if it doesn't work.
He measures the KPIs.
Yeah. That's what I was about to say. Detail.
Single thing.
Yeah. And I could do even better on it, but we're always trying to, for us, it's not just about lead sources. It's also about maintaining that relationship with the people that like us, know us, and trust us, or our past clients. We pour back into our tribe, kind of like the Seth Godin mentality of, having people around you that are willing to help you succeed. And it's, everybody, it's easy to get leads. Like, if you're trying to get leads out here right now, you can get them. It's converting the leads that matters. And even for our company, we have lead sources that we need to do a better job of conversion. We have agents who are, maybe looking at it backwards on it, where they want just the past client sphere relationship because they've been in the game for a long time. But when you have interest rates where they are, not everyone in your sphere is going to do it. So you got to keep your sword sharp, like Mike was saying, and you've got to be willing to get back in the pool. And then they see some brand new people popping off stuff constantly. Correct. Like, well, how did they do that? Well, it's what helped you build your book of business to begin with. Mm-hmm. It's a culmination of everything, but the consistency. And we do measure lead sources. We just had a meeting it was about 3 weeks ago, where we had given something 6 months. We have such metrics on, like, we can see everything. There's not anything we can't see. Like, this is a waste of our time. Like, I don't need our ISA wasting time on this. We need our ISA doing more. We don't do much really cold outreach. All of it is opt-in.
Yep.
That's just always been kind of my focus. And it's always people that give us their information for the most part. Could be organic, could be paid, could be Facebook, could be TikTok, could be Insta. I mean, it could be anything. Mm-hmm. And then, we're always, I'm always keeping my nose or my ear to the floor to see if there's anything out there that people are actually doing well with. But I usually ask the hard questions, and I like to network with the people that actually do track as well. It's a lot easier. But what works in San Diego doesn't necessarily work in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Plus, they have that extra zero that helps.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it's those return on investments or return on ad spend, at least. It's like, that makes a little bit more. That's why you're getting a 10x ROAS or whatever the case is. But that's interesting. And that's, I think the inbound, at least from what I found, is it keeps that gray area of hey, like, are you soliciting me? Are we opening up the company to litigation in some way, shape, or form? Versus if people are always inquiring, then might make it a little bit easier. Keep a little bit better reputation. I know we've gotten some reviews on Google or just people spouting off. It's like, hey, you guys keep reaching out to me. I'm like, we do not cold call anyone. It's always like a warm reach out just to try and avoid those situations and scenarios. Cause it's like, I don't know what people are going through in their own mind unless they're physically reaching out to sell us their property. But I don't know, anything else you guys want to bring up before we wrap this up?
Just to add to that, I do the same thing on the wholesale flipping side. Is it's all inbound, and you figure out really quick what PPL works and what doesn't. You know, and it could be different in different markets too, right? And it's some of that, you know, and what I learned from Greg so much is measuring the KPIs. I know where every stinking lead came from, because when you're paying $500 a lead, you know, you have to, or you're lighting it on fire really quick.
And one last thing, because this is just top of mind. Do you think, like, say a new investor was coming to you for advice, and they're like, hey, Mike, what should I do first? Like, do you have are you like, hey, get on the phone, start dialing these people, cut your teeth with that, or are you like, maybe save up some money, do this, or what are you giving advice on if someone comes to you and they're wanting to invest?
They want to buy a flip, or they want to own a flipping company, because that's two different games.
We'll say that they're pursuing wholesaling, because I think that's the lowest barrier to entry is what they're thinking, at least. So what would your recommendation be of, even if it's networking or whatever?
If I could go back and do it again, which I kind of did, was I got into mail first.
Okay.
And that still is my bread and butter today, is mail. You can get mail and you can get a CRM through the mail company. You still got to have money to play this game. It's not a cheap game at all to play. And you could be a solopreneur for a long time, wholesaling off of mail. I mean, before you jump your foot into PPL, which is super expensive, or PPC, you know, SEO, it's
everything,
20 or 30,000, just like that.
Like, what's your monthly overhead? It's like, oh, it just keeps going up every single month.
It's crazy. But yeah, I think if I could go back or tell a young investor, you know, get into mail, you know, a CRM, and follow up. It's really what Greg has said is consistency and follow up. I talk to people in countless different industries, and it's really follow up.
It's the same. Yeah, it's literally across the board.
It's if you can stay in touch in front of these people, and that's what Greg's done such a great job of building these client events we have. People are there every stinking year, you know, so when they think of selling their house or hear of that, well, we're the first people to come to mind.
That's so cool. That is so cool. Well, I appreciate you guys coming in. I enjoyed the conversation. We're definitely going to have you back, chat a little bit. But if you guys enjoyed the conversation, hit the like and subscribe button. We'll see you in the next one.